I was genuinely blown away by a number of things in my video discussing sponsorships. First, in the first 8,000 views of the video received 1,000 comments. I mean, that's incredible. I'm thankful that you all spoke up and said your piece. It's exactly what I needed to make a decision. So the second thing, all the comments were incredibly kind, and wow, do we have some powerhouses of intelligence here? I mean, geez, seriously, the amount of thought and care put into so many comments was really wonderful to see. Finally, there were many opinions, but 95% of them pointed towards being okay with sponsorships in one way or another. Some being a bit less enthused and some being all for it. Others seem to really hate them, which is completely fair enough. So let me quick mention what I'm going to do, and then I'd like to personally highlight a few of your comments. Like I said, the comments were overwhelmingly in favor, but honestly, I'm still extremely cautious because my integrity is everything to me. And while I do want to grow Physionic, I wanted to grow with my ethics in mind as well as my perception intact. So for the time being, I'm still going to continue to avoid sponsorships until I really run across someone who can provide a great product to you. I know many people skip the segments that are sponsorships anyways, but like anything that I do here, I would want to make it a quality segment that's interesting and fun. And I can't do that with something as bland as CatDog VPN. Guys, I can't tell you enough about CatDog VPN. I love CatDog VPN. Get your first 11 months free by clicking my link in the description. I wonder who thought that I was actually serious there. Anyway, I also reflected on what I'm doing with the insiders. I realize it's expensive for some, and I want to be flexible within my means. So I've created a second, less expensive tier for the insiders that offers a number of benefits. So one, access to my private insider podcast. I put all the data that I cover for the month into one episode and offer applicable takeaways on how I would use that information. Two, my unabridged, ad-free full study analyses, which include written summaries for anyone not interested in watching me go through, 2 hours of data. Three, my written research reviews. They're about 10-minute reads, something like that, covering a few studies on a topic with some applicable takeaways. And four, my seminars, of which I currently have three. I'm pretty sure it's three. But I have my eye on the fourth, which pools together all the data that I've analyzed over 20 to 30 studies or more and puts it all together into a comprehensive breakdown, including mechanisms with hard takeaways. Think of these like the study analyses with less data and more illustrations. And the upper tier gets all of the above, plus the ability to ask me to cover specific topics for them in private live sessions and to join me for recorded live sessions to discuss those topics called the office hours. Also, access to the journal club, which is where I walk through how to actually break down studies. Now, ultimately, I do want to be as independent as I can be. So I hope that splitting this up like this will be a benefit to everyone, allowing more people access to my work across a multitude of mediums while allowing me to maintain Physionic's independence until someone truly great passes the Physionic inspection. It's not some grand thing, but you get what I mean. So thank you for all your input. I said it in my pinned comment, but let me reiterate, thank you. Now, I don't want to just make this about Physionic's growth. I also wanted to acknowledge a few people. First off, a special thank you to Tom Lindsley, Jeff Wright, Jernej Obrezia, hopefully I'm pronouncing that somewhat correctly, Siobhan, Marius Norcus, Justin Beals, Martin Kilgariff, Charles Keller, Mac Hawley, Hannah, and last but definitely not least, Perry. If you heard your name, I think you know why. Thank you. Okay, the rest of the video is us hanging out. So grab your coffee, grab an electrolyte water, grab your snack, or if you're fasting, just hang out in misery with me. We're going to start with some positive comments and then dig into some, well, less positive. I don't know how to describe it. It's currently pouring rain outside, so it's makes for a comfortable, cozy hangout session. So, at Amber Sanford 3703 and Andy Manilow and others that had such kind things to say, it's genuinely humbling. I tend to hate repeating myself because words almost seem to lose their meaning if we hear them too often. And maybe I need to expand my lexicon to learn new ways of saying things, but thank you. I don't take your belief in me lightly by any means. At Zilla Hagbin, I'm sure I butchered that. I apologize. 4766. First off, I'm always thrilled when I hear from physicians, scientists, epidemiologists, really just anyone in the field, because it offers me some comfort that while I am always continuing to learn, especially in statistics, I am headed in the right direction. So I'll never have the clinical experience of a physician, but if I can distill data into approachable terms for someone busy with their own expertise, I also don't take that lightly. That said, I think that a large chunk of the Physionic community might disagree with you that I could be a comedian. I think you overestimate my abilities substantially. And if you see me in Hollywood, you will have known that I have been abducted and replaced by an android. I'd rather be sitting in my room reading studies for weeks than spend one day on the Hollywood circuit. So consider it an allergen of sorts. Still, thank you for the kind words, and I appreciate the insight on the sponsorship front. Renee, UZ3EB. So I love the fact that there are people like you that have that level of confidence in me, but like I said in the previous video, I definitely have bias. I actively try to fight that bias, and I think I do a decent job, so I'll give myself credit there. However, I'm not perfect, nor will I ever be, but as long as I can keep it to a minimum, I can live with that fact. Also, I'm glad that you understand the hesitancy. It's a big deal. I mean, it's an insane amount of money. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars per sponsor. But again, that's money that could hurt the overall image of what we're trying to do here. I still see Physionic as a business, but it should be as ethical as it can be. Navigating that, as you put it, creates a significant hesitancy. Anyway, thank you for your belief in me, Renee. I really do appreciate it. Royne Jensen. Definitely butchered that one. 7813. I appreciate the feedback. I think it's entirely reasonable to be more skeptical of anyone who has a sponsor. You know, I thought about doing unaffiliated sponsorships, but call me a dumb creative. But I feel it's important not to cheapen Physionic to endorsing random, unrelated sponsorships. I like telling stories through data, and to ruin the discussion with some random placement of unrelated sponsorships feels off to me. Again, maybe I'm just an idealist and I'm just stabbing myself in the leg for no reason, but I would want to incorporate a sponsorship that I A, believe in because I vetted them completely, and B, is related, so I fit it into the videos seamlessly. I don't know if you know a YouTuber named Drew Gooden. He does more sketch comedy and is 100% unrelated, but people love his sponsorships because they're really creatively crafted and really fun. Now, look, I get that I'm adding even more complexity to the situation, and some people might be rolling their eyes thinking, this guy thinking too much about it. Who cares? Look, I wouldn't disagree. Consider it a flaw then. I just admire excellence and I strive for it in everything that I do, even sponsorships. I'd like them to be a positive experience for everyone, not a burden on you, the viewer, nor a black mark in the middle of the video. But you know what? This is all beside the point now. Thank you for speaking up. It offers some credence to one of my fears. I appreciate you. Oh, and when I said less positive earlier, I didn't mean that it was like hateful comments or anything like that, just opinions against the majority opinion. So someone like Campbell Paul, who brought up that sponsorships changes an influencer's perspective. Yeah, I think I largely agree. I don't think it's necessarily a done deal that if you have a sponsorship, you'll be destined to be biased, but it increases the probability substantially. Also, what I think is more damaging, potentially, is the perception of bias. I realize that some people will perceive bias no matter what one does, but the more that you can combat that perception in people on the fence, the better. So, as with all others, I appreciate the different opinion, Paul. Thank you. Trab Simp. Not sure what SME stands for. Social media eggs, social media earthworms. Well, regardless, I appreciate your trust in me. I think there are a few other earthworms that I like as well. For example, Gil Carvalho. As you put it, it's tough to not feed into financial bias when monetizing through dependent means, but also something that you said, it will destroy your body of work. I agree, it can be damaging. Also, I'm thrilled to hear that you've been able to navigate some rough waters. I wish you the best, and thank you. James Lester, 6785. Yeah, it's good to be aware of that fact. Admittedly, I'll keep my words delicate here, but I wouldn't want to benchmark my decisions on what Dr. Berg does. I am not a fan. But you're right. It is the world that we live in, and you're spot on about the studies. That would be a vital part, and not the only part of a vetting process. Also, thank you. I may not be a fan of Dr. Berg, but I do appreciate it when people who are decide to give me a shot. I appreciate it. As I mentioned earlier, this doesn't mean that I may not do sponsorships in the future, but for the time being, I'd like to hold out. And Physionic isn't about to go under or anything. I'm making enough to keep paying for the videos, and hopefully in time I'll be able to produce even more to cover more of your requests. Until then, just know that I was truly humbled by all the responses. It reinforced the idea that I'm doing the right thing here and will continue to serve you for many decades to come. Thank you for being part of this. It really means the world to me. See you soon.